For over 40 years, San Diego grew kind of the same way. Developers pushed into areas like Carlsbad and Chula Vista. They built suburban communities, extended infrastructure, and rinse and repeat. But now that might be ending. So in today's video, I'm breaking down exactly how San Diego's growth model is changing, which areas will benefit, which will stagnate, and what this means for you right now. And look, here's what most people don't realize. San Diego didn't just stumble into one of America's most competitive housing markets. It was built on a very specific and repeatable system. You had available land, expanding infrastructure, and relatively affordable entry points. So that really allowed developers to keep pushing outward, and buyers followed along. I mean, for decades, the growth pattern was incredibly predictable. You could buy thousands of acres in other parts of San Diego for a fraction of what you'd pay closer to downtown. And of course, this created places like Poway and Carlsbad in the 80s and 90s, which grew from 35,000 people in 1980 to over 115,000 people today. And then Chula Vista exploded from 67,000 people in 1970 to over 280,000. And that wasn't really random. I mean, these were direct results of a deliberate and repeatable formula. You buy cheap land, build infrastructure, attract businesses, and watch families follow the jobs. But here's what's wild, and I'll show you the exact data a little bit later on, but those affordable starter homes in some of these areas don't really exist anymore. I mean, the entry point has completely reset, but here's the big shift we're experiencing right now, and what's changed isn't just one thing. It's a combination of factors all hitting at the same time, and it really starts with the land itself. Now, San Diego isn't like a lot of other cities, so it's not like it's running out of land because it already ran out. You've got the Pacific Ocean on one side, there's mountains on the other, and on top of all that, you've got lots of military land and strict zoning laws. So now cheap land is basically gone at this point. I mean, there's still some pockets of undeveloped land, but you can't really buy thousands of acres at once anymore. And that completely reset the math for developers. So all that affordable land that made suburban growth possible, those are all gone now. And the areas close to job centers, they're already built out. So anything that's left is either small or really expensive. And that's exactly why San Diego was short about 4,700 units in 2025, and housing inventory just isn't keeping up with the actual numbers we need. We'd have to build over 15,000 homes over the next 4 years just to catch up on what we're missing. I mean, back in 2020, home prices were around $650,000, and now we're all the way up to $989,000. That's a 52% increase. And look, developers are in it to make money, so when land gets expensive, they can't afford to build entry-level homes anymore because the margins just aren't there. That's why almost all new construction you're seeing is either higher-end homes, luxury communities, or dense multifamily projects. So we're really at a point where developers are left with two choices: either pay a premium for land and build higher end homes, or shift to entirely different projects. All right, now the second major constraint we're facing is infrastructure. Back in 2024, people lost an average of 88 hours sitting in traffic, which is the 8th highest in the country. So a trip that should take 30 minutes now takes 45 to 50 during rush hour. And people are kind of hitting this commute ceiling. I mean, there's some projects happening that are supposed to help with that, but they're not really opening up new areas of growth. They're more like congestion relief projects. And in the past, infrastructure is actually what led to huge growth. You'd build new freeways, extend utilities, and that's how parts of North County expanded. But now we're at a point where we're playing defense, not offense. And here's the thing, infrastructure isn't just about traffic. It's water, sewer, electricity, and many parts of the county are already maxed out. Expanding takes years, costs billions of dollars, and getting these approved here isn't easy. So now when you combine expensive land with infrastructure limitations, you get a fundamental reset in housing. I mean, the suburbs that were the default choice for the last 20 years are no longer the obvious choice. Chula Vista and Escondido were once affordable alternatives, but now Chula Vista's median price is at $800,000 and Escondido's at $850,000, and for many buyers, that's really out of reach. We're also building a lot more condos and townhomes right now just because it's way easier to squeeze them onto a small lot. Single family homes with big yards are essentially a premium product now. And over time, these are going to get a lot more valuable. Now, on the flip side, cheaper condos and townhomes let first-time home buyers at least get into the market. All right, so if San Diego can't keep growing outward, where's the growth heading to next? And look, if you're trying to figure out where you should actually buy right now, I'm constantly tracking these development patterns, and I could show you exactly where to get the best value for your specific situation. So you can always call, text, or email me anytime, or just scan the QR code on the screen. Now, when you look specifically at central San Diego, that's already completely built out, developers are really focusing on redevelopment. So what that means is that older single-family homes, small complexes, or sometimes even commercial properties, they're getting replaced with townhomes, condos, and mixed-use buildings. So you're not getting these big 3,000 square foot homes with big backyards, and that comes with some trade-offs. You might have less outdoor space and sometimes higher HOA fees, but you're gaining what a lot of people want, which is proximity. Everything starts popping up right next to you, so restaurants, grocery stores, public transportation, it's all right outside your door. Now, one of the biggest projects happening right now is the $3 billion Riverwalk project. And this isn't just some random development, it's actually a blueprint for San Diego's growth over the next 10 to 20 years. It's 200 acres right in Mission Valley that's going to include over 4,300 housing units, 1 million square feet of office and retail, and 100 acres of open space. So instead of expanding outward like they were before, the city's actually doubling down on creating density in these central locations. So places that already have access to jobs and some kind of infrastructure. And what that really does is it starts to pull demand inward. So now instead of buyers going further out, you're going to see more people competing for these closer in areas. A lot of people nowadays want shorter commute times, walkability, and there's a huge focus on improving public transportation. Especially when it comes to our trolley system, they plan on spending about $125 billion over the next 25 years, and they're really pushing for new housing and retail around these transit centers. And the other thing is, these transit areas start to become mini hubs. There's housing, jobs, restaurants, all in one place, and that's what a lot of people are looking for. Now, this is still early stage stuff. They just started building Riverwalk back in 2025, so you're not going to see immediate returns, but if you're thinking 10 to 15 years out, this is one of the places where a major transformation's happening. And a lot of times, the earlier you get in, the better. Now, Riverwalk isn't the only example. There's actually another massive project planned for the Midway district. And there's been a lot of back and forth with this one, trying to get everything approved, but if this ends up breaking ground, it'll transform the entire area into a mixed-use community. There's plans for thousands of housing units, retail, parks, and a brand new entertainment district. And this isn't happening all the way out in the outskirts somewhere. It's actually right in one of the most central locations near downtown. And right now, the whole area is very car dependent, but long term, the plan is to tie it into San Diego's transit system. That way you don't have to drive everywhere and hopefully increase the amount of people that actually use public transportation. Also, another big one is the new Gaylord Resort that just opened up, and this one's gonna have a big impact on property values. This hotel is absolutely massive, and it's actually the biggest hotel on the West Coast. It's 1.6 million square feet, there's 1,600 rooms, a 4-acre water park, and what's wild is that this is only the first phase. There's plans for more hotels, parks, retail dining, and whenever you see billions of dollars going toward a redevelopment, you should definitely pay attention. Also, nearby neighborhoods like Otay Ranch and Bayfront are seeing a lot more demand now, and I'm getting more and more people asking about what exactly is going on down here. Now, there's also some other projects moving forward in this area, and all these are part of the city's master plan. So Amara Bay is a new waterfront community that's going up right next to the resort, and this one's gonna have 1,500 residential condos, another hotel, retail space, and lots of new amenities. So with all this development in Chula Vista, I think we're gonna be really surprised over the next 5 to 10 years. All right, now we've covered some major growth areas, but that raises really kind of an obvious question. What about all the other established neighborhoods? Does this mean that they're all done? Well, no, they're definitely not going anywhere. I mean, these are still strong markets with excellent schools, and a lot of families like having more space. They all have such a strong reputation, and when people get older, they want to move away from the city and out to the bigger neighborhoods. So all I'm saying is that the explosive growth phase might be over. I mean, Ensenada's median price is about 1.8 million, and Del Mar's at 2.8 million, which puts them all the way up in the premium category. And look, they'll probably continue to appreciate, but probably at a slower, more sustainable pace. The days of 15 to 20% appreciation are probably behind them, and now what you're gonna see is a lot of these small infill projects, maybe some luxury home construction, and a focus on maintaining what's already built. So they're shifting from kind of this huge growth mode to more of an established neighborhood mode. And that's not really a bad thing, it's just a different phase of the market cycle. Now, understanding where San Diego is growing is one thing, but what does all this actually mean for you and your wallet? Well, first of all, the safe bet areas are no longer really obvious. I mean, for the last 20 years, the default advice was move to Del Mar, La Jolla, Pacific Beach, and you can't go wrong. And honestly, that's true, but today, these areas come with premium price tags and a little bit slower appreciation potential. Now, they're still great places to live, but they're not the growth plays they once were. So look, if you're a buyer, you really have 3 lanes to think about this. The first is those premium coastal markets, and these are gonna be your lifestyle plays. You're paying to be close to the water, great schools, master plan communities, and you're betting on long-term stability. You're also locking in a home that's always going to be in demand, and this really makes most sense if your priority is lifestyle first. So this isn't really where you go looking for a great deal, you know? People buy here because they absolutely love the area and they know exactly what they're getting. Now, the second option is redevelopment zones, areas like Mission Valley or parts of Chula Vista. These are all transformation plays. You might not get that quiet suburban feel right away, but you're buying into future development. And this is really where you're seeing the biggest shift in San Diego right now. Developers are completely reworking these areas, and that means you're gonna be a lot closer to everything. So shorter commute times, you're getting great walkability, and you're gonna be really well connected to everything that's around you. So if you don't want to waste all your time sitting in traffic, driving to work, then getting into one of these areas might be the best option. And from purely an investment standpoint, this is where you buy for future potential. So that's why when more development comes in, you typically see more demand and prices going up a lot faster. Now, the third option is to give up proximity for cheaper home prices. You can look at places like Escondido, Otay Ranch, or even all the way out to Temecula. I mean, this is where you're going to get the most for your money. Bigger homes, more space, new construction in some cases, but there's some trade-offs you're gonna have to deal with. You're gonna have longer commute times, hotter weather, and you're further away from the coast, so you're not really getting that typical San Diego lifestyle. I mean, if you're commuting over an hour each way, 5 days a week, that's gonna get old really fast. So it's definitely something you have to think about, and look, it might end up being completely worth it for you. Now, if you already own a home in San Diego, this shift creates different opportunities depending on where you live. I mean, if you're in one of the higher priced cities and there's not a lot of new development going on, you're not gonna probably get that explosive appreciation. You already live in one of the more desirable areas in the county, and people will always want to live in these neighborhoods. So that means your equity growth is probably going to be more predictable. Your value is driven by schools, amenities, and quality of life, and that doesn't just disappear, especially in a city like San Diego that people from all over the world want to live here, so we're always going to have a more resilient housing market. Now, if you're in one of these areas getting these big new projects, you're actually positioned in a great place. Especially if infrastructure continues to follow, these areas could see big appreciation over the next 10 years. So you're essentially getting in on all this development really early. Some of these places are growing faster than the coastal markets, and it could work out really well for you. And look, whenever you and I get on a call, the first thing we're gonna do is walk through your situation. So where you'll be working, your timeline, family needs, and basically just what you want your life to be like here. And that way I can get a really good idea of what you need and point you in the right direction. So if you're thinking about moving to San Diego, then definitely reach out anytime. All my information is on the screen or down in the description. And make sure you check out this video right up here where I rank a bunch of different cities in San Diego from worst to best, or you can just check out my channel for a lot of other videos about living in San Diego. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.